this is JC. Welcome to Urban Knife Guy, where we explore the urban lifestyle and jungle survival. We are in the jungle once again. It is a rainy day, but I'm out here creating content just for you. And I'll be comparing these three knives, and this is really by popular request. I've got the Condor Terrasaur, the Morakniv Bushcraft Black, and the Morakniv Garberg in carbon. So three very similar knives in terms of their size, in terms of the intent, and also in terms of the sheaths. All of them have this plastic sheaths. So we are going to get into it in this video. First, if you watch this channel regularly but have not subscribed, please do so to help the channel out. And if you'd like to support the channel even more, do check out my shop links in the pinned comment or description below. You can even join as a channel member. Thanks a lot. So these three knives are pretty similar. This is the Condor Terrasaur. You can see it's got this plastic sheath. It comes in black, but I could only get it in green at that time. I believe it also comes in desert tan. This is the Bushcraft Black. Also comes in this kind of a plastic sheath, but it's got a rotating belt clip, and you also have options for different clips as well. This is the Garberg in carbon, and it comes in a similar sheath, and you have this leather loop over here. So let's take out the knives from the sheaths, and you'll be able to see each of them in all their glory. Garberg, Bushcraft Black, and the Condor Terrasaur. So besides the sheaths, the common thread among these knives are the blade steel. They're all high carbon steel. The Condor is 1095. Unsure for the Moraknivs, they aren't very specified, but it's a high carbon steel as well. In terms of performance, in terms of toughness, and I think edge retention, I would say in most use cases they are about the same in terms of the toughness and in terms of how long it takes before you need to sharpen them. All of them have also got this overmolded plastic handles, although the texture is different specifically for this carbon black. So the Garberg and the Condor Terrasaur have very similar handles in terms of the material. So in terms of when you feel it, right, it's like hard plastic. So very, very tough. For the Bushcraft Black, it's actually very contoured, and this has a rubberized feel. So among all these knives, this is actually the most comfortable. So if you want to work for prolonged periods of time and comfort is a very important factor for you, you would definitely want to consider the Bushcraft Black. Sticking to the handles, one thing I think is very important for Bushcraft knives or fixed blades are the thickness and the shape. So if you look at this, the thickest handle is actually the Garberg. It's narrow on the top and bottom, but the center really kind of bulges out. If you have medium to large size hands, you probably find this quite comfortable. For me, with small to medium hands, my only complaint about the Garberg is that it feels a bit too big. The swell is just a bit big, and it feels like I really need to put more strength when I'm using it. If I need to put more pressure because it's big, I have to grip it tight. If not, I feel it's gonna come out or rotate in my hand. So that's the only downside for me. Or I would have to just move my hands a bit and really choke up a bit on the front part of the handle. Then I feel I have a really confident purchase. But if I have to just keep it at the center, I just don't feel I've got a full grip. Of course, I could move back again and then I get a confident grip. So that's just something to take note of if you're small to medium hands. It's something you have to get used to. Over time, I've gotten used to it. So I do know that if I need to apply more force, I need to choke up a bit and maintain my pressure mainly at the top here, not so much in the center palm swell. For the Bushcraft Black, no problem whatsoever. You can see it's slightly slimmer and it's contoured, so it's really comfortable. You almost have a kind of finger groove over here, so really comfortable in terms of the design as well. This Condor Terrasaur is similar to the Garberg, but it doesn't have that same palm swell. Right, on camera it might seem minute, but in the hands it really makes a difference. Now if you have really large hands, maybe you might find this a bit thin for your liking, but for my hands this actually feels very good in terms of the thickness and the overall size. So three different knives with three different handle sizes, and don't underestimate the importance of the comfort for the handle for a Bushcraft knife. Now we talked about the blade steels, let's talk about the blade shapes. The blades are similar and the grinds are also similar. They're all Scandi grinds. So Basically, it is a 90-degree spine, then it plunges down, and then you get a bit of a convex grind, which goes to the leading sharp edge. So very similar in that respect. In terms of the thickness, very similar as well, all about 3.2 millimeters. So again, very similar. If you talk about the tang, that is the blade going through all the way to the handle, both of these, the Condor Terrasaur and the Garberg, are full tang knives. And you can see they actually protrude out at the end with a pommel, but they do have over molded handles, and that's why you don't see the exposed tang, but they are full tang knives. For the Bushcraft Black, it's a rat tail tang, which comes to about roughly here. So for those who really think they need a full tang knife, they may not like this Bushcraft Black. However, if you use the knife as intended, you really have no problem with this. Most people think of batoning when it comes to full tang knives, but generally if you're splitting firewood, you shouldn't really be batoning with these knives or your fixed blades unless it's in a survival situation and you don't have alternatives. You should have your machete, your parang, or your axe in order to batten and split wood. And this is really for smaller pieces of wood like kindling that you really want to process, and maybe you don't want to reach for your bigger knife, so you just use your fixed blade and that will be fine. And with really small pieces of wood that you need to split down, even this, even though it's not a full tang, it's gonna work. You aren't gonna break the knife. But of course, if you overextend the purpose, and we might just try to do some battening later, it might overextend the knife. However, if you see these knives as companion knives, as I would, because I do believe in a multi-knife system or multi-tool system when you go out to the field, then to me any of these knives would actually work, whether or not it is full tang. But if you insist on full tang, then you'd want to think about the Condor Terrasaur or the Morakniv Garberg. One final consideration when comparing these knives would be the cost of the knives. So the Terrasaur is $47 US, the Bushcraft Black is $36 US, and this is $67 US for the Garberg, and those are kind of listed prices. So you can see there's a big variance. So the Bushcraft Black at 36 is almost half the price of the Garberg. Remember, this is the carbon version. So if budget is an issue, that may factor into your choice as well. So 3 different knives, very similar in profile, very similar in blade steel. Grind thickness of the blades are the same. The handles would be where the differences come in. Maybe the overall look in terms of aesthetics, and of course the price. This would all really factor into your considerations. So let's do some basic field tests with this, and then I'll end off with my final thoughts and maybe what I think of which is my favorite knife among these. So I've got these pieces of wood that we have sawn off. It's probably about 2.5 inches in diameter. So we're going to use the different knives to see if we can batten through them. We'll start off with the Condor Terrasaur. I'm not going to go right through the center. I'm going to go more through the edge over here, and we'll see how that goes. Now we'll try it with the Bushcraft Black. So remember, this is not the full tang knife. Now this could be due to the knot of the wood, so I'm just going to try, without exerting too much force, I want to try on the other side to see if it's the same. So this side of the wood is particularly knotty and naughty, so let's try this side. Finally, let's try the Morakniv Garberg. I'm going to go back to the Bushcraft Black with this same piece of wood that I just used to cut with the Garberg, and let's see if there's a difference. Yeah, this part of the wood is getting a bit more knotty. Here are my final thoughts when it comes to these three knives. When it came to batoning, I did find that the full tang knives seem to perform better, although I'm not sure if it's psychological, really. It still could batten, as you saw. It could also be that choice of the wood that just happened to be more knotty than the rest, but I definitely felt the full tang knives performed better in that regard. When it came to the final work, definitely the Morakniv seemed to perform better. I should mention that the Garberg doesn't sport a factory grind. This was actually brought to a professional who did add in his own edge and even gave it a mirror polish for the edge, as you can see. So it definitely feathered really very well for the fine work. But I think in terms of comfort, definitely the Bushcraft Black was comfortable when doing that fine work, and I felt the grind performed well too. For the Terrasaur, it looks the most rough among all these three knives, and I think it also performs the most rough. It can do the job, but I don't get as much pleasure as I get with these knives. So really it comes down to these two, and I think it boils down to the budget. If you do have the money, I think the Garberg would really fit most people. Most people would find this the most solid in hand. They'll have the most, the confidence in terms of the purchase and just how it feels. The weight, it's definitely more hefty than the Bushcraft Black, and you probably feel it's more solid when you do rougher work. And of course, it still can do that finer work, as you saw. For the Bushcraft Black, if you're very concerned about the handle comfort and the price that you're paying, then this would still then definitely be a good buy, because you get the comfort, you get it at almost half the price, and you can do almost all the work that the Garberg can do. But it probably is not as heavy duty since it's not full tang. But again, it could be psychological. So if I have to make a choice between these three knives and budget wasn't such a big issue, I would go with the Morakniv Carbon. However, honestly, in the environment I'm in, I would prefer to have a stainless steel blade. In that case, then I would recommend the Morakniv Garberg, but in stainless steel. And I also have a custom Kydex sheath, simply because I don't really like the plastic sheaths that any of these knives come in. So this would be the same, except it's stainless steel. It's Sandvik 14C28N, an extremely tough steel, but it's got decent edge retention as well. And it's pretty easy to sharpen as well. So I think it's a very all-round, well-balanced knife. And in fact, 14C28N is one of my favorite steels when it comes for outdoor knives. So I know it seems like a bit of cop-out because I'm comparing these three knives, but if I really just had to buy one, I would choose the Morakniv Garberg stainless steel. But between these three, I would take then still the Morakniv Garberg, but in carbon. Well, let me know your thoughts in terms of the comparison of these three knives. Which one would you choose, or would you cop out like me and go with the Garberg in stainless steel? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you like the content in general, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.